Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Mizan. I'm a volunteer for Let Kashmir Decide. I work along with Claire to create more awareness about the issue of the human rights abuses in Kashmir and what we can do to uh, to create more awareness about the rights of the Kashmiri people. Um, just giving you guys some or kind of warning. Um, Rules: everyone will get 5 minutes to speak, and I mean 5 minutes to speak. You know, when your time is coming up, I will let you know, and I'll give you a bit more time to come to conclude your speech. However, if it carries on, I will because of the fact that we have a lot of speakers, I will basically put you on mute, basically, and then we'll move on to the next speaker. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this very important event. And I would like to start off by giving it to our founder, Claire Bidwell, who will talk more about LKD and what the primary aim of the event is. Just letting you know that we do have a couple of petitions in regards to Yasin Malik, which we all want people to sign and which we all want people to share. I will share it on the chat, but also it's on our Facebook page as well. So please check out our Facebook page, sign the petitions and share it. Thank you so much. Claire, it's over to you.
Thank you, Mizan. Great introduction and start for us, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. So yeah, I'm Claire, co-founder of Let Kashmir Decide, and you know our aim is, and I do keep repeating this, we want to rise above the ideologies, above the politics, above the things that divide us, to find the common grounds that unite us, and that means you will find various people from different political spectrums, different perspectives and views wherever we go, whatever platform we're on. And because one of the concerns in the defragmentation of amongst the Kashmiris is still this people holding on to, I feel sometimes, this lack of democracy. If we want to solve this issue, we need to solve it together, and it means listening. You know, this is about the Kashmiris, it's bringing out their voice, it's working with Pakistan, it's even reaching to India. You know, within our group, none of us are against anybody, just against these policies that abuse human rights, and wherever we see these issues, it's right and it's just for us to speak up. So that's our aim, is to just bring everybody together for self-determination for the Kashmiris, and work at that level and try and unite us all together, share our work and cross dialogue, exactly what we're doing here. The aim of today is, like, we know that Zoom conferences go on a lot now and they can become talk shops, but what we want to do is be active. We want them to have a purpose. We want them to campaign forward and be more than just talking. We want that information to come forward. So the aim of today is for experts, people with on-ground experience, people with personal experience of the issues of political prisoners in particular, and the human rights abuses, to bring them here and share that knowledge. And this is why we brought all of you here today. And again, thank you for joining us. And we want to take that to the politicians in the UK that can make the difference, that do know how to take the voices forward and make that work. So that is our aim here. We want to raise awareness amongst the common people so that within our movement, we've got that ability to bring the Kashmiris' voices out, all the work, the academia, the experience that everybody knows, to find the solutions. So today is primarily about political prisoners in Kashmir, and our current campaign is to campaign for the release of Yasin Malik, who's a Kashmiri leader, and along with other Kashmiri leaders and voices, you know, there are hundreds of political prisoners being denied their right for a fair justice. And that's what we're about here, is about the humanity, about finding the justice for these prisoners. So Yasin Malik, this is why we've called this now on the short notice, he's due to be heard in court on the 3rd, 4th of March to be tried, the case to be brought against him, and with a very real concern that he could receive the death sentence. So this was our intention today, to bring this awareness, discuss it and share towards our parliamentarians. Unfortunately, I have received a lot of apologies from parliamentarians for today's event. The strength of it is that they all offer their solidarity and their support. They would like a write-up of the event afterwards and a sharing of the link. So although some may not speak here today, a lot, and what's sad is some of this is COVID related and health and some last minute ones. So anything we speak here and share today, even though there are some government representatives not able to join us, that our message will go to them anyway. So we want to go, through the event and bring that out. And we have the petition. It's essentially an international signature campaign petition that we're aiming for. We want as many names on our petitions as we can. And we've got online ones, but also on ground ones. And we want people to get out on foot in Kashmir, as many as possible, but not just Kashmir, globally, and to try and get as many signatures as we can. So this is part of our campaign going forwards to that. We also have another bigger vision where we are going to try and bring the people into this and our government to boycott Indian products. And we would like to see our UK government look at a boycott of India until political prisoners are released. We know that's a challenge. We know that's tough in this time, but we like to kind of aim high. And while we're on our way there, it's often the process where the results come and not always the end journey. So it's very much today, unity above all the ideologies, unity for humanity, and let's create results and make results and try and get awareness amongst people, and hopefully for politicians to be able to do work for us at the levels where it's needed. So thank you once again, and I'm looking forward to hearing everybody here today.
Thank you so much for that, Claire. That was a very lovely introduction, and basically in regards to the petition and our campaign, we need to do what we can to speak up for Yasin Malik, but also not just for Yasin Malik, but also other political prisoners who are suffering because of their rights to express and fight for their freedom, basically, and the freedom of their people in Kashmir. So thank you for that. So next up, we will have Salman Khan from the Kashmir Global Movement. Salman, if you don't mind, just if you're here, I think you're here, if you can unmute yourself, you will have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Master of Ceremony, and my honorable guest, the founder of LKD, Claire Bedwell, the comrade Claire Bedwell, and my honorable, my friend, my mentor, my Mohsin, Dr. Nabi Faisab, and all the protocol observed. I see a lot of new faces here, which I have never interacted before. So let me quickly say hello to everybody, welcome on board, and welcome to joining our struggle for Kashmir. Olga, Waqas, Niza, Nazir Gilani, Ghulam Nabi Fai, Karen Radman, Zafar Khan, Paul Bristow, and of course, Mr. You are on here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, from all the way from South Africa, the sunny South Africa. Fasabbi bismi rabbikal ala lazi, fasabbi bismi rabbikal ala lazi, fasabbi bismi rabbikal ala lazi. All the Lord to the beautiful, the Lord, the creator, the protector, the provider, whatever between the heaven and the earth, and all the salutation go to the Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to his messenger and all the prophet of his creation. It is a somber moment, and first of all, let me say thank you to Claire and a team, to Waqas and Azhar, to organizing such a very, very important, a very neglected topic to be on the discussion, and it is very important that we talk about it. And it seems that in the midst of all the hype of a Kashmir activism, we keep forgetting the people who have sacrificed their youth, their life, their families, their daughters, the mothers, and they are serving the time behind the jail. We do not know on unknown conditions. We do not know what's happening to them. So my thank you to the people, but I think we need to just come back to the very important point. And the point of is that all the modern constitute, if you look at the internationally, most of the international, I would say the first world country, their alignment of their constitute, whether the Bill of Rights, whether the European Bill of Rights, whether it's an African Bill of Rights, whether there's a Bill of Rights in South Africa, it's all back on the Universal Declaration of the Universal Declaration for the Human Right, which was adopted and accepted in 1948 in the General Assembly, Resolution 217A. And what it is said, and I think that if we can understand that what is said, and all the world constitute subscribe to that, And we're just asking the same question: is it really what the India is doing? It is go into the line of that universal declaration for the human right. We're not asking anything else. And then we're asking to each country, because the failure is a collective failure to lend our hand to protect the civilian, unarmed civilian of Kashmir and the political leaders. So it's a collective responsibility, and it's a collective, I would say, it responsibility come from everybody and every citizen of the world. So what is the Article 1st of the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights talk? It's that all the human beings are born free and equal in dignity and the right. They're endowed with the reason and the conscience and should act toward one another in the spirit of a brotherhood. Is the India is doing the same? I don't think so. The Article 3 talk about everybody have a right to live, liberty and security as in person. Article 5 talk about it. No one shall be subjected to the torture and inhumane treatment, cruelty, and the degradation of the treatment or the punishment. And that's exactly what we are here for. Our dear freedom fighters are subjected to the torture, constant humiliation, and are they allowed and are they have been availed for any type of fair and free, I would say, the representation, whether it is a legal, whether it is a moral. Then the Article 10 talk about everybody is entitled to have equality and a free and fair public hearing. This is the Yasin Malik, Maqbool Butt, Mr. Shah, all of them. Have they given this equality? No, it is not. And that's Article 10 talk about it. The Article 12 talk about it. No one shall be subjected to the arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence. Is it what's happening? When we talk about the correspondence, we're talking about the blackout of the internet. When we're talking about the family privacy, we're talking about the house has been raided. The Article 13 talk about everybody have a right of a freedom of the movement and the resist and to the residence and to the religious places. No, we don't. The Jummah Namaz has not been offered in Kashmir for how many months? 6 months. The Ashura presence has not been observed for the last many years. So it isn't about collective responsibility. So let me come back to the point, very important point.
If I could just quickly come in, sorry, your final 1 minute is up. So please, can you conclude? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I think what we need, that Claire have already said, and I think that's a very important thing. It is the international in the ANC, when the ANC was looking for a international cooperation or international solidarity, one thing was, please help us, and the international community come and help them by boycotting and bringing the sanction. What the problem is the disunity within the Kashmiri leader, the failure. We don't have to go and look. The failure is not the India. We confront it with our enemy, which is too strong. It is the failure of our collectiveness and our failure to be united. And I can tell you, to sabotage this very webinar that we have today, how many people was convinced by our own Kashmiri youth and juvenile leaders who are irresponsible in their attitude to go out there and convince people not to come on this webinar. And that's where the failure is. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to shame and name them and shame them and tell them these are the culprits. The Kashmir in a struggle for the last 73 years, apart from being 3 million Kashmiris out into in Europe, in America, we still not be able to help our Kashmiri brother and sister, and of course, let alone the people behind the bar, and of course, Yasin Malik come on the top of it. So I pray for the national unity. We pray for the Kashmiri leadership to be united. We pray for the international solidarity to be there. And we thank you for the Muslims and non-Muslims leaders coming forward and helping us. Thank you very much. And with that, I'd just like to say one small poetry for the Kashmiri. Those are the people behind the bar. Hey Kashmiri, teri कश्मीरियत को सलाम करते हैं, ए कश्मीरी तेरी कश्मीरियत को सलाम करते हैं, हम तो उन माओ बहनों की अजमत को सलाम करते हैं जिनके दुपट्टे तले पले बड़े मेरे शोहदा गाजी, हम तो उनकी हिम्मत, हम तो उनकी इज्जत को सलाम करते हैं. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Salman Khan, for that. Next up, we have if we just hold on. So we have Olga Levinthal, a civil rights analyst from the United States. I hope I pronounced that right, Olga. So please forgive me if I didn't. But yeah, please unmute yourself. You have 5 minutes to make your contribution. Thank you.
I absolutely defer my first 5 minutes because I'm very new to the subject. So I'm here to listen and I'm here to understand. We familiar with the general ideas of human dignity and how it is misapplied in various areas, but please take my 5 minutes to someone who can usefully apply them in this conversation today, hopefully.
No problem. Thank you so much for that, Olga. So I'll give it, so the next person coming up is Azmat Khan. He is a lecturer and he's an expert and a researcher on Kashmir. So Azmat, if you don't mind unmuting yourself, and you have 5 minutes to speak. Azmat, I don't think your microphone's working. You're still on mute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Thank you. So yeah, you
hello,
have.
hello. Right. Hello, thank you very much for inviting me. I really appreciate your efforts. I think this Let Kashmir Decide is a very good initiative. If I got a few minutes, I'd like to talk about certain aspects of our campaigns. Our case, obviously, everybody knows about our activism and the impact that we are supposed to be having on both India and Pakistan. So we all know it's a never-ending story of Indian occupation forces atrocities. You only have to Google a couple of words like torture, arson, extrajudicial killings, abductions, molestation, house arrests, imprisonments, rape, PSA, POTA, UAPA, CASO, and so on. This is our case against India. There is ample documentation on this by the People's Tribunal, International People's Tribunal. There is also the J&K Civil Society Coalition who have documented a lot. Amnesty International has been involved. All of them are now under threat, unfortunately, by the Indian regime. It's happening because, unfortunately, that's the reality. India does not want to let go of Kashmir. That's the reason why we're here. This is a 73-year-old story. What can we do? One of the problems we've got, in my view, is that the Indian state thinks that all Kashmiris are working for Pakistan because they see Pakistan as an internal enemy. Therefore, they have a case to kill every Kashmiri to save Kashmir. That's their strategy. That's what they always talk about. 7,000 to 8,000 imprisoned our youngsters, our leaders, not a small number. Unfortunately, not a single on one of these cases. People from 9-year-old to 79-year-old have been imprisoned, but there isn't a single case registered in the UN working group for arbitrary detentions. This is something we need to look at. Since August 2019, we've had this issue with, I think, the real prospect of genocide with the demographic changes. By all definitions, that's the new issue. That's the one that's coming up, potentially dangerous. I don't know how many of you are familiar. The UN Human Rights Commissioner the other day didn't acknowledge all of this that I'm talking about in her report in the council. Our UK Foreign Secretary, who spoke at this council session a couple of days ago, mentioned nearly 10 countries in the world with the human rights issue. Would you believe it? India was not one of them on his list. And I recently discovered this about the UN working group on human rights on all sorts of issues. Our activism, unfortunately, I think somebody said lots of Kashmiris have talking shops. We're failing. No real action is being taken that might have an impact on both either India or Pakistan, and that's what we need to look at. We have, everybody knows this, unlike Palestinians who have a observer seat in the UN, we have an AJK government which doesn't have a voice, which doesn't have a seat anywhere in the world. We rely upon our friends in Pakistan. The Pakistanis rely upon their friend China, and we fail every year. Unfortunately, one of the reasons 4 out of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council are opposed to everything that China comes up with or China says. And that's something that Pakistanis need to tackle. The international community hides behind bilateralism. They say Kashmir is a territorial dispute. That's why India gets away with it. And thanks to our friends in Islamabad, they haven't internationalized this issue at all. We fall into, and Kashmiris are to blame for it as well. We fall into one camp or another, as Claire said. I feel that is a betrayal of our cause. There are 10 UK MPs, would you believe it, of Kashmiri heritage in UK. And there's 9 or is it 8 Pakistani MPs who are very supportive of our cause, but unfortunately they have made no impact on UK foreign policy. There is not a single voice in the Foreign Office that supports our case or our cause so far. I'm not sure if any of you are aware, a couple of days ago, in fact, it's been 2 weeks now, one of the British, one of our MPs tabled a early day motion about Tanveer Ahmed in Azad Kashmir, who's been arrested and imprisoned for 6 months now. None of our MPs signed that early day motion. There's only 2 people who signed it. It's because our MPs have one hat or another. They don't want to upset maybe their friend in Pakistani High Commission and so on. Questions have to be raised regarding, there have been actually questions raised in the Commons with regards to imprisonment of Yassin Malik. The usual response, if you raise any of these questions with the Foreign Office, they say we're monitoring the case. They say that we know what's going on, but we can't intervene because it's between India and Pakistan. And that's, I think, another flaw, another strategic issue we're faced with. We have luckily, UK parliamentary, all-party parliamentary group in UK. A few years ago, I met with them and I begged them that the only way you can affect.
Sorry, Azmat, just let you know, your 1 minute is up, or your final 1 minute is up. So if you can conclude, that'll be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'll wind up. So basically, I asked them to make a case with the British Foreign Affairs Select Committee to hold an inquiry on Kashmir with regard to British foreign policy. Unfortunately, they claim they've got 60, 70 members, but they failed to do that. They held their own inquiry, which unfortunately the outcome was zilch. I gave them written and oral evidence. We have, luckily in UK now, another very good initiative, which is where all the 3 main parties have made groups like Friends of Kashmir. With the Conservatives got the Labour, thanks to Azmat Khan, who is now in the House of Lords. Paul Bristow has been very active, and our Lord Hussain, Qurban Hussain. There are now Friends of Kashmir in the UK Parliament, in their own party. But the thing that I think that they need to look at is how to impact, how to change their own party policy. So once the party policy is changed in favor of Kashmir, hopefully when that party gets into government, it will make some difference. Finally, can I take just one more 20 seconds maybe? I think all friends of Pakistan need to be able to persuade our friends in Islamabad that they need to drop bilateralism if you want to save the Kashmiris. They need to take a new initiative to the international community. And the way I see it that they can do that is by getting together with the China, like the Israelis did with the United States, set up some sort of a think tank, move forward with the view to getting a observer seat for the Kashmiris in the UN. Either that, or we, the Kashmiris in the diaspora, need to find another country. We need to find another friend. Like the Rohingyas found a friend, a remote island in Africa called Gambia. They went to the International Court of Justice. We need to find another country which will take our cases about prisoners, cases about genocide, cases about everything that India is doing and violating every agreement on international law. to take them to International Court of Justice, we need to find a friend. If our Pakistani friends can do it, great. If they can't, then it's our responsibility as the diaspora committees, as organizations, to move forward on that. In my view, that I think is a real need of the day. Thank you. I've got a couple of more issues.
We can come back on that later. Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much, Azmat Khan. That was a very amazing lecture that you just gave. So next up we have Karen Rodman. She's from the Justice and Peace. She's a Justice for Peace advocate from Canada. Karen, please unmute yourself. You have 5 minutes.
Shukriya. Assalamu alaikum and greetings to all. I'm very pleased to be able to be with you today in solidarity with the people of Kashmir's right to determination and this panel. I'd be very remiss as we consider the brutal military occupation and outright colonial settlement of Kashmir by India to not also mention that I too am a settler on indigenous land, a land that has been colonized through historic systemic violence, a violence that continues today against the indigenous people here on Turtle Island in Canada, where I speak. It's from that context that Just Peace Advocate comes as an ally to this discussion and with resolve to work tirelessly for justice for all and for right of self-determination for all Indigenous people. I'm pleased to be here today remembering a brief visit that I made in late 2019 as part of a small human rights delegation to Azad Jammu Kashmir. We also met with Yazam Malik's wife and her family and others at that time. Now, a year into a COVID-19 world, that visit in many ways seems like a lifetime ago, but more importantly, for the people of Kashmir, the unfolding of this past year is hard to even fathom. The people we met with in December 2019 were desperately holding on to the slivers of hope at that time. We were shocked when those in several camps we visited said this was the very first time that someone from the international community in 30 years since they were exiled from Indian occupied Kashmir had come to talk with them. I think that speaks to the making of this as a bilateral rather than an international issue. That speaks very loudly of that aspect and that concern. The message from the Kashmiris we met was really clear. They wanted to return to their own land on the other side of the current line of control, and they wanted freedom through the right of self-determination to be realized through the plebiscite that was promised to them in '48 by the United Nations Security Council. Canada's United Nations representative, Andrew McNaughton, who was the president of the United Nations Security Council at that time, took the lead for that resolution. And so I guess we feel some accountability for those of us who stand with the people of Kashmir here in Canada, realizing that Canada was a big part in positioning that early resolution and the resolutions that followed in the early years after. The people we met with hope that the Canadian government and others in the international community, especially at that time, as a lockdown seemed long, but it was only at 150 days and before the domicile law. But at that time, they really were hoping with the lockdown, the world was finally noticing and there would be leadership towards moving to the UN supervised plebiscite. A year later, here in Canada, despite the work that has led to 3 petitions being sponsored by Canadian elected officials in 3 different political parties and thousands, literally many thousands of letters, the Canadian government has remained quite silent, and the response to those petitions was less than adequate. The word monitoring that was mentioned earlier is pretty much the case of the response. That said, there is some hope in that this was the first time with those 3 presentations of petitions that in over 15 years, India's occupation of Kashmir had even been mentioned out loud in the Canadian Parliament. It is a somber moment now for sure, with over 3 million domicile certificates that have been issued in the last few months by India to its own population, its own settler population. And given this population transfer is prohibited by Article 49 of the 4th Geneva Convention, I think it's important for those countries that are high signatories of the 4th Geneva Convention to remember that under Article 1, the high signatory country is accountable to ensure the convention is upheld under all circumstances. We therefore continue to remind Canada that it in fact is complicit if it does not take action. India's immediate implementation of the domicile law has started to shift the demographics in a few months to 1/4 non-Indigenous settlers, as I understand it. And to put that in context, it has taken a half a century for a similar demographic shift in the occupied West Bank of Palestine, with the addition of less than 1 million settlers and much international attendance, much international tension. So we see our role to work with the Kashmiri community and allies to impress upon both government and civil society the urgency of this matter. Kashmir is under genocide alert. And of course, the situation in Kashmir has critical implications for global peace. Therefore, silence is not an option. So in regard to prisoners, when we came back from AJK, we set out to do several things. We reached out to the ICRC, respecting their mandate, which is very specific, but making it clear that they've abdicated their responsibility for Kashmiri prisoners.
Karen, if I could just say your final minutes up, so if you could just conclude, that would be great.
Thank you. We've talked with the Canadian ICRC office to impress on them the need that they needed to brief the Canadian government and also within their own organization that they needed to step up and accept the humanitarian responsibilities and responsibilities for prisoners. We also did work with Amnesty Canada, and initially that seemed to go well, but it's been more difficult in the time since the Delhi office was closed by India. So we continue to do reach out specifically here in Canada to parliamentarians and to the committees. I also think maybe we could talk about some of the lessons we can learn with some of the work that we're doing in regard to Palestinian prisoners and the lessons learned over the decades of work in that regard. And so I'm just very thankful that I'm able to join this panel, be with you, and be part of the conversation to learn from those in the UK and elsewhere. Shukriya.
Thank you so much, Karen. That was a very, very good speech. And I'm not going to lie, like, as you were talking about Indigenous, you know, your speech kind of reminded me of Indigenous rights and all that kind of stuff. And I just want to say, like, the Trudeau government is a very peculiar one. I'm finding it very, very strange. It uses the language of liberalism and Indigenous rights, but, you know, it doesn't really follow through, to be honest with you. But we could talk about that later. But yeah, that's the enigma of Justin Trudeau, unfortunately. So next up, we have Mushaal Mullick from Peace and Culture, Pakistan. Mushaal, if you please unmute your mic. If you're, I think you're here. So you are here, right? If you could just unmute yourself and then you can talk for 5 minutes. I don't think is Mushaal here? No. Okay. Mushaal,
Mizan,
yeah.
Could I maybe just pass on? She is due any minute. I know she was coming in. Can I just pass on a message from Seha at this point? Seha Shabir Shah, the daughter of Shabir Shah.
Go on.
She was hoping to join us today. Sadly, she's undergone panic attacks this morning. She is open in how she suffers because you know, of the situation she finds herself in, yet she wants to pass on how she remains resolute and strong. She said her father, Shabir Shah, is held in Indian jail and has been there for many years, and she's, you know, staying strong, trying to campaign for his support, and she's disappointed that she can't join us today. So she just wanted to pass on, really, you know, the support, you know, looking for justice and wanting the support for her dad, but also at the same time that he's strong in his beliefs, strong in his determination, you know, for the rights for self-determination for Kashmiris, and he won't budge from those, and he's staying strong. So she wanted to pass on those messages. Obviously, in all this, her angst is at India, the way the Indian government are handling this, which has, impacted on her mental health and different issues. But she remains resolute for her dad, and her father remains resolute. And she just would like to pass on to UK parliamentarians, anybody, any of us that can do anything for her father, Shabir Shah, or for Yassin Malik, or any of the other political prisoners, to do everything that we can, because, and this is real, this is somebody's daughter, this is her dad, and it could be you or I. And I think that's kind of sometimes when they're away from us across the water, we distance ourselves. But the reality is, there was a young lady here today that was hoping to join us, desperate to see her father out of jail, desperate to see justice done. He's in horrendous conditions, and she has to live with that every day. So it was passing on that message that they keep their spirit, they keep their strength, but any support that anyone can give them, please would they do that.
Thank you so much, Claire. Well, that actually provides an important segue to our next speaker. I'm going to allow Paul Bristow MP, a Conservative MP, to come on and talk about this issue. He's been a very important figure when it comes to this issue in the Conservative Party. And if I don't mind saying, he seems like a very good breath of fresh air. So it's nice. It's nice that we have him here. So Paul, if you can just unmute yourself, and I'll give you 5 minutes to speak on the issue. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction, and I probably won't speak for 5 minutes. I see it very much as my role to listen to the authentic voices from Jammu and Kashmir, and reflect those concerns of my constituents, many of who are from the Kashmiri diaspora here in Peterborough. I am the chair of the joint chair, of the Conservative Friends of Kashmir, and I just want to respond to a couple of points that were made earlier on. We did talk a little bit about the UK and why perhaps parliamentarians in the UK aren't talking about Kashmir as much as they should, and why it's not resulting in policy changes here in the UK. I still think we've got a long way to go. I think you can't care about human rights and not care about Kashmir. That's the argument I always say. There's lots of people in MPs talk about human rights, say they're defenders of human rights, but then have no knowledge or interest in what's going on in Kashmir, and I just don't think you could hold both of those views. But what I'll say is I would argue with a note of optimism, because I think things really have stepped up over the last sort of 12 months, not least because I think a number of new MPs from both sides of the House of Commons, not just Conservatives like me, but were elected to represent significant Kashmiri diaspora populations, and have to campaign amongst significant Kashmiri diaspora populations. And as the Conservative Party have established, well, I've established this Conservative Friends of Kashmir with my colleagues in the Conservative Party, it's always also prompted our friends in the Labour Party to almost step up and as well, which I'm not saying that they weren't pulling their weight. This is definitely a cross-party issue, but friendly competition and solidarity with one another is a positive thing, because we do work together on it, and we do want to be associated with good work happening on this cause. So that's got to be a positive. I heard what was said about the all-party parliamentary group. Maybe that's something we need to look at, and to make sure that this is taken much more seriously. But I also think the Kashmiri diaspora in this country, also in the UK, need to be much louder and clearer about their concern about this issue. They do it locally. They do it. They talk to MPs, but perhaps then they need to do it much more collectively, I think, and push this further up the political issue. Because, as I said, you can care about human rights. You said you can't care about human rights and not care about what's going on in Kashmir. The argument I feel, which is having, this is going to sound like a slightly difficult thing to say, but because there are so many human rights abuses going on in the world with Rohingya, some of the things that are going on in Africa, in Israel and Palestine, and all these sorts of issues, another crisis abroad just seems quite far away. We often hear about human rights abuses and things like that, and it doesn't really begin to hit home. So we need to come up with cleverer ways, I think, in order to make our case. And the case that I've been putting forward is that the UK it believes in self-determination. We obviously had our referendums here in this country, and those results have been after a long struggle, have been upheld. Do we believe in democracy as much as we did? There were so many people who wanted to overturn the European Union referendum result. Thankfully, that hasn't happened, and we've upheld, our belief in democracy and self-determination. But the UK has its own territorial disputes going on in the world, and those in the Falklands, with Argentina, those with Gibraltar and Spain, and others. And the UK argues very convincingly that they will not enter into bilateral negotiations with Argentina over the Falkland Islands, nor Gibraltar over Spain, unless the wishes of the people of the Falkland Islands and the wishes of the people of Gibraltar are taken into account. And they don't see it as a bilateral issue, they see it as a trilateral issue, with the two countries, two sovereign territories, and then the people of the disputed area. And it's a very difficult argument to answer for the British government, because on one hand, they'll turn around and say, look, we believe in trilateral negotiations in our own circumstances, but when it comes to Kashmir and Pakistan, it's just a bilateral issue. And I'm afraid that just doesn't hold water. And I can see people scrabbling around trying to come up with reasons why they don't want to justify that issue every time I raise it. I think it's a convincing one. We're having progress on it, and I will continue to continually ask that question, not least because, as I say, if you care about human rights, you care about self-determination, you care about Kashmir.
Wow, thank you so much, Paul. And you actually stayed within the 5 minutes. So thank you so much. I didn't actually need to say anything. So thank you so much for that. And you know what? You've given me some food for thought, and maybe something I can come back to you afterwards, because in regards to this issue, I just wanted to find out, what you thought on, like, for example, issues of decolonization and issues of kind of like occupation and stuff like that. Would we have to tackle these issues as well in regards to what we're doing in order to ensure that human rights in Kashmir or Israel, Palestine, or other countries are met? But it's something that I'd like to speak to you maybe like after the speeches during the Q&A sessions. So thank you so much for that. Next up, we have Philip Bennion, I think. Philip Bennion is the Vice Chair of Human Rights for Liberal International and former MEP for the Liberal Democrats. Philip, thank you so much for joining us. Please unmute yourself. You have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you.
I believe I'm unmuted anyway, but if that's not the case, let me know. You can hear me?
We can hear you fine, thank you.
Yeah, good. I mean, I've literally just come in off the tractor. I caught the last 2 minutes of the last speaker, and where I have to agree with him is that I think that there is more hope now that there is more cross-party support for the situation in terms of the human rights abuses in terms of the Kashmiris. I think having people active in all parties is very, very helpful, because it does become a cross-party issue. Where I've been speaking on this particular issue, I've been very much drawing attention to the geopolitical situation and the changes since the American election. Now, this holds opportunities and risks. The big opportunity now is that there is very much a view that there is this drift away from human rights in the world, and these abuses that we're seeing in China, in Kashmir, in various places in Africa, even in places like Venezuela, where we have despots taking over. There is very much a view forming that we need some form where the democratic world needs to get together and really fight for its values, where it has been complacent and probably not willing to take any economic pain over recent years. Now, President Biden is definitely leading this charge, and he will want to form a broad coalition, which includes the UK, which includes the European Union. Obviously, the US-EU relationship in these terms is absolutely fundamental because of the EU's economic power to press. Now, the problem there has largely been Germany, which is very mercantilist. and has taken the view that anything that damages the German economy, they're not really willing to take up. But we are seeing a change of view even there, whereas in the past there has been very much this mercantilist view. We're now seeing a lot of voices saying, hold on, it can't be trade and economic growth at all costs. So I'm quite optimistic in that respect. But of course, India may well want to join this coalition. And well, I think it's very likely they will. They will want to be seen as part of the democratic progressive world in many respects. But they also want to do this without actually changing. Now, the lobbying opportunity here now is largely with the Americans, because it will be largely up to the Americans whether they enlist India in this project. And it needs very much pointing out to the Americans that India has a lot of reform to make itself, and in particular with its political prisoners and its revocation of autonomy in Kashmir, and its treatment of other minorities in India. It's basically taking a majoritarian view, and that is not what true democracy and human rights is all about. So there is an opportunity here, but also a danger, because once India is enlisted into this project, it will be difficult to go back. So what is needed now from the Kashmiri lobby is a very clear message, and a united message. Those who wish to join Pakistan and those who wish to be independent need to join, link arms in this respect, and work together to give a common narrative to the Americans. The British will come along with the Americans, and I believe the Europeans will as well. And I think Australia has something in this game as well, because China has been bullying the likes of Australia. It's been bullying pretty well everybody. It's been bullying anybody who's got Belt and Road loans into supporting them at the United Nations. So we have an opportunity. The India lobby, of course, is extremely strong. It's very vocal. And as a former parliamentarian, I know how much comes into my inbox when any issue affecting India rises itself. And they are extremely active. So it's very, very important to have a unified message, because when politicians hear messages which are conflicting,
Philip, if you don't mind me saying, your final minutes up, so you can round up. Thank you.
They go for the group that is giving them a message which is clear and consistent. So that's where the Kashmiri lobby needs to now work. It needs to be united, and it needs to, firstly, to focus on the Americans, in my view. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Philip. That was a very, that was an amazing talk, and we had a really good insight into how things work and what needs to be done. So thank you so much for that.
Can I quickly say also a very big thanks, Phil, because I know you were doing your farming and we'd had some emergency call-offs, and I really appreciate you joining us, and with the message of unity as well. So really grateful thanks from all of us here, and for all your support always. Thank you.
Thanks. Can you excuse me? I'm going to have to go back to the tractor. I've got to get finished in daylight.
We're all very jealous. Yeah.
No problem. In fact, Claire.
Cheers, bye then.
Claire, since the next speaker is kind of, she kind of got on very late. Do you want to introduce Mushaal properly? Because, you know her bio better.
I will try my best. Oh my goodness, there's so much to Mushaal that it's very hard to cover. I've worked with Mushaal along this journey, and she's been a good support for us and vice versa. She manages, if that's the right word, she has her own organisation, Peace and Culture. She's very active for Kashmiris and the Kashmiri cause. And of course, perhaps most poignant for us here today is that she's the wife of Mushaal Mullick, the Kashmiri leader, that's looking for self-determination and is suffering now in Tehal jail, and has been for a long time. So she is both a strength for the Kashmiris and a strength for her husband, and a very powerful voice, because she's also the mother of his child. And I think this is where the humanity comes in, because it's very, very real. So thank you, and welcome to you, Mushaal, and thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Just letting you know, everyone's got 5 minutes to talk, so you have 5 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and yeah, you can speak for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Can everybody hear me? Is my voice?
We can hear you fine. We can hear you fine, and see you fine as well.
I'm really sorry. I was traveling, so the connection was not really good, and I'm really sorry for being late. And I'm grateful to Ms. Claire and to Let Kashmir Decide. I can see the Honorable Nazir Gilani Sahab, and
Sorry, Michelle, the connection is bad.
Mizanur Rahman. Yeah, thank you so much. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. The connection is just bad. So if it continues, we might have to have you come on later. So carry on, and let's see how it goes. Otherwise, we will just have to ask you to come back on later when the connection is better. Okay, I think with Michelle, we'll ask her to come back on.
The topic is definitely.
Okay, Michelle, I think it'll be better if you would just to come back on later when you have a better connection. Is that okay?
All right. All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. So the next person we have coming up is sorry. So the next person we have coming up is Dr. Javed Rathor. Are you there, Javed?
Yes, I'm here, but I'm not a doctor.
Okay, no problem. Sorry, but yeah, you have 5 minutes. So please, yeah, you can speak for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Can you give a chance to someone else, and I'll speak later? I just came in.
No problem. Next up we'll have then is Saeed Gilani here? Dr. Saeed Gilani?
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, please, you have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. I think we all owe a debt of gratitude to Claire and her team to put together this event at a very crucial time in the history of Kashmir. Our greetings. I would just keep my submission very brief. The UN position is that pending a referendum supervised by the UN, India and Pakistan do not have a sovereign claim on the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It's very important. Pending a UN supervised referendum, neither India nor Pakistan can claim sovereignty over the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And if I could add to that, we have a UN template, and under that, India cannot take prisoners from Kashmir. So the UN Security Council Resolution 47 of 21st of April 1948 does direct India to ensure that all political prisoners in Kashmir are released if they are held by the state government, not to speak of India taking Kashmiris as prisoners herself. So we will have to marshal this argument that is India justified, or does India have a legal competence to take Yasin Malik and others as prisoners from Kashmir? So I think this is very important. The Kashmiri prisoners held in Tihar cannot be treated in a generic sense as people taken, but they cannot be taken prisoners under the UN resolution. So we need to marshal, advocate this thing, and I think Dr. Faisal would build on that. Azmat Sahab has very rightly said quite a lot about it, because if at the same time the Indian penal code does exclude the state of Jammu and Kashmir, we are not covered by the Indian penal code. We have a Rambir penal code. The state of Jammu and Kashmir has its own laws. So those laws are far different from the Indian laws. We are not Indians. Yasin Malik, Shabir Shah and others are not Indian citizens. They have a legal personality under the UN template. So the United Nations template needs to be activated. We need to make a robust reference to UN that whether, because when we say that that Yasin Malik and others should be given a fair trial, I think we may be misdirecting our wisdom. It means we are conceding that they are lawfully taken as prisoners by the government of India. So the first moot point is, can India take them as prisoners? Second is that India and Pakistan are a consequence of the right of self-determination. Yasin Malik and others, they have a titled self-determination. So Indian respective claim, Pakistan's respective claim is a consequence of that. So we should not dilute the position of Kashmiris in that respect. Because if we go in a generic sense, then I think we would be making a mistake, allowing India to take prisoners or allowing India to adjudicate upon people who are not Indian nationals, who have a separate statehood, they have a separate legal personality, which we call state subjects of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So the other thing that I would wish to add within the 5 minutes is that United Kingdom has a very important role to play, because the first assurance that India gave was not given to the United Nations or to Pakistan, but to the United Kingdom on 26th of October 1947, assuring the Prime Minister of Britain that India has temporarily decided to go to Kashmir to help them. So the Indian army is a supplement and a subordinate force. It is not a prevailing force in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So we need to also start arguing the legitimacy of Indian army, which is in Kashmir, and their role. It is very, very important. Then Britain has very rightly said that there are 6 elements in Kashmir. So the 6 elements, not only the people of Kashmir, the 6 elements are the 2 parties, India and Pakistan. The tribesmen have also been recognized under the United Nations template. Then the insurgents, and then the people of Kashmir and the world at large. So Kashmiris have a legitimate reason to undo the Indian occupation, taking recourse to arms or whatever other means that the United Nations.
Sorry, Dr. Gilani, you have your final minute is up, so if you could just conclude. Thank you.
So what we need to do, that we need to return to the UN template to be of any assistance to the people of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, because our all parties parliamentary group in the British Parliament could not be more effective, because they have so far not decided whether or not they have to return to the UN template on Kashmir. So my submissions would be that there is a direction from the United Nations to India to seek the release of all political prisoners held in the state, and it forbids India to take any Kashmiri as a prisoner. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just letting everyone know, because of connection problems, I'm going to ask Mushaal Mullick to come on, to see if she can come on again last. It'll be better to get all the other speakers out the way with. And obviously, Mushaal, she's a very, very important voice. So actually, hold on. Is your connection better, Mushaal?
If you could check if you could hear my voice properly. Hello?
Can we, we'll ask you to come on at the end. Is that okay?
Okay, fine.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem, no problem.
We can't hear you now.
Oh, sorry. Next up, can we have Javed Rathor?
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah, 5 minutes. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And first of all, I would like to congratulate for the people, those organized this event. And I got opportunity to see a lot of friends, Dr. Gilani, Dr. Faisab, Karen, Claire, and all of you. Of course, this permanent incarceration of Kashmiri leadership is highly deplorable. And as you know, that these people are under lock for a long, long time, almost 3 years, 2 years. See the Shabir Shah, Yasin Malik, Asya Andrabi, and all others people. And Dr. Gilani very rightly elaborated the issue in a true perspective, mentioning about the UN template. And I think we should look in that directions, that as why these people are in jail, why these people are in suffering, why they opted this way. The reason is they never accepted the Indian domination. They never accepted that they are Indian. They believe that they are Kashmiri, and in fact, they are Kashmiri. And Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir, state of Jammu and Kashmir, historically, legally, nothing to do with India. It's India who is aggressor and who occupied Kashmir by force. And I think this is very important to take this issue in a true perspective before the international community, that this issue is not an issue of bilateral relations or unilateral relations of India or Pakistan, or even a trilateral relations. And I think this issue is an international issue, and it has international repercussions, because as you know, both countries, India and Pakistan, I'm sorry, I'm going to a different direction, but since Dr. Gilani and other people lighted upon the subject, I would like to talk about this issue, that this issue is very important for whole world, because India and Pakistan both have nuclear weapons, and permanent this kind of animosity and adversarial relations can lead to a nuclear war, which could be disastrous for whole world, especially for South Asia. And I think, especially when the Modi government is in charge of India, and you know the Modi, he's a RSS, he's promoting the RSS philosophy, and he has a group of homogeneous people around him. Those are his adherents and his followers in millions of numbers. They are like a wild people, furious people. And we can see that last 3-4 years, what happened in India, a lot of cases of with the Muslim, lynching of Muslims, and introduction of new law, citizenship, and also these reforms for agriculture. These all things are leading towards anarchy, and deliberately, the people, those are in charge of the government, they want to bring fascism in the country, and they want to suppress all voices, not only in Kashmir, but India. So keeping in view these kind of facts and realities, I think we should realize that magnitude of this issue is very important, and unbelievable results we can see aftermath of any event took place. And so it's very important to highlight this issue, bring a Kashmir issue in front of international community as an issue of human rights, as an issue of fundamental right of people, which is enshrined in the Constitution of United Nations. And also, as prisoners are concerned, you see their families are suffering for a long time. See Michelle and her daughter, they didn't saw Yasin Malik for years and years. This is absolutely inhuman, and no religion, no constitution, no law, and no ethics, and no democracy, no one will allow to happen these kind of things. But it's happening in India, and people are turning their back. And I think no one should turn their back or overlook this issue. This issue is very important to resolve, not only for the people of Kashmir, but people of South Asia and people of Kashmir are suffering for a long time, and they are in such a egregious situation that we can't comprehend what they are going through. So I again thanks for all of you for organizing this event, and I think we should continue these efforts, especially in these times of turbulence through social media and Zoom. And I would like to listen other participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Javed Rathore, for that amazing talk. Next up, we have the next person we have is, if we could just go through this again, Dr. Ghulam Nabi Fai. If you could just please, from World Kashmir Awareness Forum, United States. Thank you for attending this event. If you you have 5 minutes to talk. Thank you.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. May I first of all thank Claire Biddle for organizing this very important webinar on political prisoners in Kashmir. I am honored to share the podium with so many distinguished guests, particularly 4 of my sons of the soil and the daughter of nation, Dr. Nazir Gilani, an internationally known jurist, not only in India, Pakistan, but also in the United Nations, our intellectual and scholar, Professor Zafar Khan, Professor Azmat Khan, and my very dear brother Javed Rathore, and obviously our daughter of nation, Mushaal Mullick. The question arises, ladies and gentlemen, that how many people have been imprisoned or imprisoned in Kashmir. There are different estimates. Professor Azmat Khan said 6,000 to 7,000. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, it is more than 30,000. You have to watch an Indian news channel, news clip, with Gautam Navlaka, who was the former editor of Economic and Political Weekly of India. It is written there are more than 30,000 people have been detained. Now, Dr. Gilani knows much better than anyone else because he's a legal mind. These political prisoners in Kashmir, India is violating 7 articles out of 30 articles of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. India is violating 2 articles of International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights by imprisoning our leadership in Kashmir. India is also in violation of 4th Geneva Convention. You may be wondering, how can India violate all these international covenants? Ladies and gentlemen, there is only one reason. India knows that the foreign policy of major capitals of the world is based on moral values and universal principles. India knows that. But India also knows that all these major capitals, they are going to remain silent because we have a commercial deals with them. I do not know if you know, America and India has $110 billion commercial dealing within the next 10 years. So India knows, and unfortunately we know that the world powers have remained silent. But they do not know, including our country, United States, and your country, United Kingdom, they do not know that their silence and inaction, it has given the sense of total impunity to the Indian army in Kashmir. We have hundreds of political prisoners. Let me say very briefly about 2 of them. Shabir Shah, he was given the title by Amnesty International, Prisoner of Conscience. He's the Mandela of Kashmir. Out of 65 years, he has spent 33 years in the Indian jails. Muhammad Yasin Malik, the symbol of independence in Kashmir. Let me give you 2 examples because there was our distinguished guest from America, Olga. She said, I want to know more about what is going on in Kashmir. Let me tell you who is Yasin Malik. There was an incident in Kashmir in 1995, one of the major shrines, Chari Sharif. It was burned to the ashes. Then the Chief Minister of Kashmir, Dr. Farooq Abdullah, listen carefully. He went to visit Chari Sharif. The people of Chari Sharif, they came on the streets, they threw the shoes, and they did not let him go inside the shrine. And next day, Muhammad Yasin Malik went there, and it is in the local newspapers. There were more than 60,000 people to receive him. Claire, you are doing a wonderful job by initiating this petition. People need to know what are the allegations against Muhammad Yasin Malik. Dr. Nazir Gilani knows everybody I am going to name here. Ambassador Kuldeep Nair, Justice Rajendra Sachar, Rajmohan Gandhi, the great son of Mahatma Gandhi. They went and visited Muhammad Yasin Malik in the hospital when he was taken from the jail to the hospital in early 90s. They told him, we have met the government. They are going to drop all the charges against you if you are just going to announce that I am going to have a non-violent movement. And he agreed to that. And let me tell you, Bharat Bhushan.
Sorry, Dr. Ghulam Nabi, just you got your final minute has come to an end. So if you could just wrap up.
Bharat Bhushan, one of the most seasoned journalists of India. He said Yasin Malik is training the Kashmiri youth for non-violence. And he said that Yasin Malik was invited by Dr. Manmohan Singh simply because he's the man of peace. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you know what Yasin Malik and Dr. Manmohan Singh talked? I was not there, but in the press. Yasin Malik told Dr. Manmohan Singh, if you want the peace process between India and Pakistan to succeed, you have to include the Kashmiri indigenous militant organization, and he named Salahuddin. And it is in the press. Dr. Manmohan Singh told him that you can go and talk to him. Muhammad Yasin Malik came to America, let me tell you on the record. He met with Christina Rocco, Assistant Secretary of State. He met with Donald Kemp, the National Security Advisor to the President. And he mentioned this whole thing that I have been asked by Dr. Manmohan Singh to meet with Sayyid Salahuddin. From here, he went to Pakistan. So what I am saying, that Muhammad Yasin Malik is not a terrorist. He's a man of peace. He initiated non-violent movement. So Claire, we have, honest to God, we have absolutely no words to thank you. On your right and left, you have Dr. Gilani there, you have Professor Khan there, both Khan, Azmat Khan and Zafar Khan. Please seek their guidance. We have to make sure that what you are talking about is going to happen next week or next month. It cannot happen because we have the truth on our side. We have the international sanctity. So it is the responsibility of Kashmiri diaspora to put together all our efforts under the guidance of our legal mind and our scholars, and with the help of people like you and those who are here on the webinar. So we should be able to save the life of not only Yasin Malik, but all the political prisoners. With that, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for that talk and reminding us of the importance of political prisoners. Yes, this is an event about political prisoners in Kashmir. So please sign the petition, share the petition. It's online on our Facebook page, and we will share it as well everywhere for people to sign. Next up, we have Jawad Qayyum to speak. So please, Jawad, please, you have 5 and you can speak. Thank you. Okay, Jawad, you are still muted.
Assalamu alaikum.
And
it is.
Hold on.
Are you listening?
Yes,
okay.
We can hear you now. Thank you so much. You have 5 minutes.
It is an honor to be here today and listen to all the national support for Kashmir. And I want to wholeheartedly thank everyone for attending. First of all, I want to say that I am talking to you from Kashmir, Azad Kashmir, and there are a lot of internet connection problems here. So I may not be able to join properly, for which I apologize. Now, if we talk about Kashmir, there are so many problems, one of which I just mentioned. But if I were to sit and talk about them all, maybe time will run out, but our problems will not end. So it is our constitutional and legal right to demand the immediate release of Yasin Malik and all other political prisoners. The main reason is that Kashmir is a solvable issue, and these prisoners are the part of the solution. Until the Kashmir issue is resolved, any kind of oppression on the Kashmiris living here is not only illegal and immoral, but it is also a violation of our human rights. International countries can legally raise their voices for human rights violations, but they often seem reluctant to do so. If they do not speak up and act to save the lives of innocent Kashmiris, then I think they themselves are equal partners, in this scene that is happening. And unfortunately, it then seems that the their own economic interests are more important to them than human lives. It is therefore important that all those that do care about human life and have the power and governance use it to be to the best of their ability to reach resolutions. Thank you, Mizan.
Thank you so much for that, Jawad. And yeah, that was a very, very good reminder. So next up we have Waqas Akram. Waqas, if you're here, please.
Yes.
Is he one?
Yes, Mizan.
Okay, yeah. Unmute yourself. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mizan. First of all, I would like to say thank you to all of the respectable panelists, especially Paul Bristow, Member of Parliament UK, also Philip Benjamin, and Olga from the United States, Karen from the Canada, Javed Rator from the United States, Faisal, and Zafar Khan Sam, and all others. We are really thankful, and also especially the Ma'am Mushaal Mullick, the wife of great Kashmiri leader Yasin Mullick. So I would like to thank you to all of the panelists. And today we are gathered here in regards to the political prisoners that are there in Indian jails. One of the main leader, like the Yasin Mullick, our organization is doing a campaign, an international signature campaign to save Yasin Mullick life. That is the matter of urgency because he is in the Tihar jail, and on, I believe, on next 3 to 4 on 3rd March, or I believe on the 4th March, his case is gonna take like, we are afraid that on this 3rd or 4th March the hearings there of his case, and Indian government is planning for his judicial murder. So our organization, Let Kashmir Decide, would like to request all of the panelists there in the Canada, United States, or everyone who is listening to us to raise the voice to save the life of Mr. Yasin Mullick, and not just only the Yasin Mullick, but there are other political prisoners as well. Shabir Shah Saab, he's also in the Tihar jail, and Ali Gilani Saab, and couple of other political prisoners. So we want Indian government to release all of the political prisoners. And also we have a petition that is at our Facebook page. I would like to request all people who are watching that please sign the petition. We're going to share that petition again on our Twitter, Instagram, and all other social media platforms, but it is already there on a couple of the platforms like on Facebook and Twitter. So we're going to present that petition to the United Nations and also to the world leaders. So it is our appeal that please get united and raise your voice to save Mr. Yasin Mullick life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Waqas. That was an amazing talk, a lovely, empowering reminder that we need to do more to save the life of Yasin Mullick and also the life of other political prisoners, especially when it comes to Kashmir. So I believe we have one more speaker left. I will ask Mushaal Hussain Malik to come back on.
We have
Mushaal,
Zafar Khan as well, Mizan. Don't want you to forget him.
Oh, Zafar Khan. Okay. Did we have him before?
No,
We
Zafar's
not
not had a chance to talk
Actually,
yet. How could you not remember?
okay, you know what? We'll have Zafar next then. Zafar Khan, please unmute yourself. You have 5 minutes. Thank you. Zafar, sorry, just so is he there?
No, are you having problems with your mute button, Zafar?
Yeah, he's having problems with his mute. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, he seems to be having problems with his microphone. It remains muted.
Now, I think you should be able to hear me now. Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Thank you. So
Yeah,
you have
thank you
5
very
minutes.
much. I'm sorry about that, but I think I will say a few words, and I think my task has been greatly, you know, I suppose made more easier by our respected colleagues, particularly Dr. Fai and Dr. Nazir Gilani, and to a large extent also Azmat Khan and others. But I will say a few words. I mean, I think we face unprecedented situation, especially since August 2019. Our rights to dissent and to speak have been taken away from us. Our political leadership is being treated as criminals. We face a situation which makes us not only voiceless but also defenseless, and we are in reality cornered with 900,000 Indian troops laying siege to Kashmir, and it is a miracle that we are still standing up and not on our knees as we were expected to be. And our fundamental rights are not only denied to us, these rights have been taken away from us. This is the context, if you like, within which we have to, in this particular meeting, this particular conference, advance our arguments, um, and uh, arguments for support and recognition of the right not to be incarcerated and the right to be free. Free to speak, free to assemble and travel, and free to demand and assert our right to be who we are and who we want to and wish to be. We are not asking anything new. It is what the international community recognized and promised to deliver to us. The promise has not been honored. We have every right to claim and demand it. And why shouldn't we? And why should we? Why should our leaders be charged with sedition for demanding it? And I think that is the context. And I shared these sentiments last night with a very dear and respected colleague and friend. I won't name him, but you know, this is what I believe every Kashmiri feels. This is what Jawad in Kotli feels. This is what Dr. Fai in America feels, and this is what Dr. Nazir Gilani feels, and this is what Azmat Khan and many other Kashmiris feel, and indeed that is what Yasin Malik and Shabir Shah and others are accused of. And I feel that you know, that is all that this struggle is all about. This is the sort of, if you like, the essence of our struggle. Our friends in Britain, in Europe, and in the United States, in the Congress, in Parliament here, and assemblies all over the world, and even in Pakistan and India have to actually, you know, parliamentarians have to actually appreciate that. We are not asking anything new. It is what was promised to us, and what is inalienably inherent to us. And I think that Dr. Gilani has very aptly and very appropriately applied many of the sort of, if you like, legal dimensions that actually inform our case. And I think Yasin Malik's case and other prisoners' case has to be seen and supported within that context. And of course, we are worried. We are worried because a roughshod is being run over these cases, and there are details. And I think people who are interested in that, these are details that would you know, would frighten any person in his or her sense.
Sorry, Dr. Zafar, your 1 minute is up, so if you could just conclude, that'd be great.
So I mean, I think from this this meeting today, what we would like very sincerely and very seriously to convey to our friends all over the world is that India stands to deny all the rights
all the basic rights that had been recognized in relation to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. And that is what Yasin Malik is standing up for. And Yasin Malik has committed no crime even in any jurisdiction. It is a crime that India considered, because on the right of sovereignty, as quite rightly Dr. Gilani has reminded the world, is that the sovereignty lies with the people, and all he is asking for is to accept and recognize the sovereignty of his people, and also to reclaim and reassert it. And I sincerely and very humbly today believe that that has to be conveyed. And I also lastly would like to thank the organizers, particularly Claire Bidwell and her colleagues, for organizing this. And we extend our unconditional support to her and our colleagues for such an initiative in support of Kashmiri prisoners, particularly Yasin Malik and others. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zafar Khan, for that.
Again, Zafar Khan, not Dr. Zafar Khan.
Sorry, Zafar Khan, sorry. Okay, Zafar Khan. Because that's what he says on your bio. It says Dr. Zafar Khan, sorry. No problem. So
maybe I'll have to get
Claire,
it up.
we need to make sure we get it right next time. So next up, we have our final speaker, Mushaal Hussain Malik. Thank you so much for joining us, Mushaal. And yeah, you have 5 minutes. Please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hello to everybody. I'm really sorry about the interruption with the net. It was purely not in my hands. I don't know what was wrong with it. And I was traveling, and I'm really grateful to be sharing the dais with such prominent Kashmiris from all over the world, including Mr. Nazir Gilani Sahab, Ghulam Nabi Faiz Sahab, Mr. Azmat and Mr. Zafar Sahab, very close friends with Yasin, and they're part of JKLF, very important portfolio holders, and expert on the case of Yasin. And then Claire Bidwell and Javed Rathore Saab, very impressive speech you gave. And I'm grateful to the kind words of Dr. Fai and the guidance that he gives me, and to Mr. Nazir Gilani for being one of the top experts on the legal issues of Kashmiri people under dispute. And, it was very, very important that we all sit together, discuss what's happening with the political prisoners. And Claire has really, I think she's a very bold and angelic lady who is very supportive, and she's counseling the Kashmiris as well, trying to raise our morale in tough times, and also to advocate for us and spread the message of peace and the true essence of our struggle to the world. And I'll come to the political prisoners, because that is something which is obviously very close to people who are part of the freedom struggle or people who are leading it, including my husband. As you all know, he's locked up in Tihar death cell. And when you have such top experts over here, I think I'll just another refreshal appeal to all of you through this webinar that, his health is quite fragile, and I'm really worried about his health and the way he's being kept over there in a very small, it's almost like 7 by 7 death cell with an open toilet. And he's not being given even any legal counsel access. And then his own lawyer, he's unfortunately, he got brain hemorrhage and he's unwell. And the family, my in-laws, they're in Srinagar due to COVID, they could not meet him. And sometimes they get the telegram, but it's very difficult because we're definitely concerned about his kidneys. He has a metallic heart valve, and he's on life-saving medicine, blood thinner. And he needs a regular, medical checkup, and needs to be hospitalized for that. And his INR tests, and then he has stones in his kidneys and multiple other ailments. And then the struggle that he's leading, obviously it takes a heavy toll upon him, especially after the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, and then multiple ailments, away from his family, all alone, and fake fabricated cases being filed against him, and not being given the rights of a basic prisoner, though India is signatory to the rights of prisoners. But as the previous speakers also mentioned, especially Mr. Nazir Gilani, he talked about the UN template But I think none of those international laws, treaties, or things are being given to the Kashmiri people, especially under this RSS regime right now. And when you talk about the various conventions on civil and political rights from Article 10, 11, 12, 11, and 17, that all persons who are deprived of their liberty shall be treated with humanity and with respect. That respect is never present for the Kashmiri people, and we have numerous political prisoners right now. But Yasin's case is very, very important, not just as a prisoner, but as a man, as a symbol. How beautifully Dr. Fai said that he is the symbol of peace. He is the solution. He is not the problem. And whenever the world decides to settle this issue, I think they will have to go to the Kashmiri stakeholders that are the leaders. And leaders are not born every day the way, I mean, like there's a political party, the leader dies or transfers it to his daughter or son. It doesn't work like this in freedom struggles. Yeah, such leaders are born in, centuries, because you have to be exceptionally brave to advocate for the rights of freedom, and at the same time to suffer, to have that level of patience and that sustenance level, which is exceptional in the case of Yasin, because he started with the armed struggle, then he renounced it, and then he followed the peaceful Gandhian path, and then he had to face further torture, especially since 2014. I mean, every day he was in prison. I remember the second time when Modi took over, Yasin was the first one to come on the road. I was there. I had gotten a visa. I was in Srinagar, and he launched a Quit Kashmir campaign against Modi. And I was scared as a wife, and I was like, this man is an RSS follower, and it's very difficult for me to get visas and come here. And whenever I come here, I have to meet you in Koti Bagh police station, and it's
I'm
really.
sorry, Michelle. I'm really sorry to have to do this, but your final minute is coming to
No,
an end.
I'm coming to. Sorry, please, if you could just give me 2 minutes. It's very crucial, because when you're
no
talking
problem,
about the rights of prisoners, you should give us a little bit of time. So I'm just saying that since 2014, when he started the Quit Kashmir campaign against Modi and whatever he had planned to do in 2019, because this is not a big shocker for anybody, this was well planned what he did. And then he joined all the leadership under joint resistance leadership. So that was also something very irritating for the current regime. And that is the price that he's paying right now. He's not being given any legal access. His life is under threat. And he's gone missing. And then his lawyers also not feeling well. So I'm just like, the world wants to solve this issue. It has to go to the main players. And they're not going to be the Pakistanis or the Indians. They have to be the Kashmiri representatives. So if they get eliminated in the next few months, then I think it's impossible to ever solve this issue. So this is something where we all need to, be advocating, like Claire Bidwell, the 24/7 campaign, what she's doing. And we need to, campaign and address this issue. And Mr. Javed Rathore and Mr. Ghulam Nabi Fai, you have very good connections in America. I'm sure you're doing a lot of work for getting the political prisoners released, but time is really running short, and we need to keep on addressing the Kashmir issue at an emergency level. And Mr. Nazir should be, part of that legal team, because it's a lawfare committed by India. And unless and until top Kashmiri experts are not there, and the main political parties of Kashmir are not part of the a strategy to internationalize it, I think we need to build a international caucus of Kashmiri experts to take this case forward, either to the ICJ or to the International Criminal Court. We need to think of ways of responding to the lawfare being committed. And I think that's all for right now. I'm Claire. I'm once again grateful to you that you invite me on these webinars. You're doing special campaigns for the release of the prisoners. It's a great job that you're doing, and I'm always there for you. And I always pray for you that, a lady who's not even a Kashmiri, she doesn't have any family there, and she's so passionate about, and she's so worried about Kashmiris because she believes in peace. So I'm looking for such peaceful human beings internationally who can, become that flame of freedom for us, because every voice counts. Thank you.
I'm very grateful for your words. Thank you, Misha. If I can just jump in yeah, Misha, it's always moving hearing this story, but what I really like there is you've brought us to the conclusion of the conference is that we need to be active, that we need to do something. And it's like, while I'm grateful for your words, what I need this to have an impact. You know, for this to actually mean anything, it has to have an impact. And I mean, this was our way forward with the signature campaign. We felt that it's simple enough and effective enough for people that care about Kashmiris and humanity to sign, that it shouldn't just be Kashmiris signing this or collecting signatures. It can be everyone, showing our government, showing the United Nations, you know, the reasons behind it. And it's been really good hearing the different strategies from different people, making it clear and concise. You know, should they be in prison? Full stop is the first one before we go then any further. And, you know, and it's like, no. So we're needing somebody to challenge on that. And I guess that's where I believe it has to come from the people, from the Kashmiris, that movement to grow, to put pressure on leaders. So yeah, grateful thanks to everybody to bring in the knowledge here. And let's hope we can do something here and be heard and make a difference and save the lives. Thank you.
If I can, Claire, don't go anywhere. So because we're going to have a little, you don't know this, but we're going to have a little bit of a discussion about what's happened so far in regards to the petition and stuff. So Claire, as you know, I, on behalf of Let Kashmir Decide, obviously we applied for a UK petition as well to save Yasin Malik. The aims of the petition is obviously that the UK government should put sanctions on India until they release basically Yasin Malik. That is something that we've got the required number of supporters, as you know, and that is being looked at by the UK government. Unfortunately, it takes a number of weeks for them to actually get back to us. So I'm still waiting for the results of if they will allow that petition to officially start, and so we can start getting the signatures. But I think I'd like you to explain how you felt, because what Michelle said about you is very true and correct. And Michelle, I'm really sorry if I butted into your speech. I was just trying to be fair to everyone. I've done that with everyone in the event, so I was just being fair. But I would like for you to come back and explain more about what happened with Yasin Malik. But Claire, as you know, when we started that position, the change.org position and all that kind of stuff, if I can be fair, there were a lot of people who said that they were going to do stuff and it never materialized. And we really had to push, like literally, we really had to push to get those signatures off the ground. If you can explain just what happened and what you would like for literally all the organizations to do. I think I'll give you a couple of minutes to literally just let it out.
Oh, thanks, Mizan, putting me on the spot. Well, I guess I can only guess. I don't really know what is at the heart of a lot of this. There was a lot of people that gestured their support for this campaign, and particularly the online one. And I thought, if I'm being completely honest, that I would get, or there would be more support from JKLF internationally, and they like the idea. And I maybe being, and I'm not speaking for all JKLF, I can see Zafra there thinking I signed it straight away, but there's something, I don't know what it is, but there's something out there. Maybe sometimes I worry that they feel I'm dictating an idea, and I'm like, hey, this is good, why don't you do this? And maybe they're thinking, well, actually, we don't want you to tell us your ideas, we want to do our own. I'm not sure. I think, to be fair, we're very disappointed with, there's not even 1,000 signatures over the 2 online positions. And if you think of how many members are, one, under the leadership of Yasin Malik, and secondly, how many Kashmiris there are internationally, also how many human rights, people that care about peace and human rights. So it's very disappointing. But of course, we have to analyze our strategies, our approaches. What are we doing wrong? Where are we, where is that wrong? Like I say, I thought the on-ground petition, which was something Yasin Malik did himself years ago to get independence, and he got millions of signatures or thousands of signatures on a piece of paper to present to the United Nations. So we were hoping to create that. But there are obviously issues here. Maybe we need to connect more with Kashmiris. Maybe this needs to involve the Kashmiris in Kashmir themselves to drive this forward. Maybe, I don't know, Mizan, what some of that issue is. And obviously that's disappointing for us on a national level. Within the UK, we're just building our campaign, aren't we, towards the boycott, towards raising voices. And if it wasn't COVID times, we'd be on the ground, we'd be having events, we'd be on the streets, we'd be taking this to the people, and it would naturally grow. So obviously under COVID here in the UK, you know, we can't do this at the moment. So Mizan, it's a mixed bag. We're all here, we're all supporting this, but I do feel that it's not getting the support that we hoped. And, you know, that is a question. Why is it not getting the support from as many people as we had hoped?
Thank you so much for that, Claire. As you know, I was there when the stuff with the petition happened. You were messaging me, and I was just like, I wasn't surprised. you know me, Claire. I was not surprised at all. But basically, just to let everyone else know, Let Kashmir Decide have started this campaign, this petition campaign. I've started the UK branch of it. So the UK government campaign to literally put sanctions on India until they release Yassin Malik. I'm just waiting for as I've just said, I'm just waiting for the government to look at the application. And once they validate it, we can then basically officially get people to sign it. If they don't, they'll let us know why. And then we will basically reanalyze the stuff, and then we will resubmit it again. Also, just to let everyone know, because there has been some talks on unity and all that kind of stuff over here. Now, I'm not a Kashmiri. I'm an outsider. I will support the Kashmiri people and their struggle for liberation. However, it is very important for the Kashmiri people to unite under a political agenda. But I follow the model of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign UK, and their campaign is they have their own agenda. They have partners in Palestine, and they're following their own agenda to liberate the people of Palestine. And this is something that me and Claire spoke about as well. And we've just come to decide that these debates, these discussions kind of confuse us, and they take a lot of energy out of us. We want to do some specific campaigns, so we have our own campaigns, we have our own aims and objectives, and we want to work with people in Kashmir like Waqas, Michelle, and other people. But this is something I think we should, like, the debate of uniting the Kashmiri political organizations, that is something that they themselves have to do, and let Kashmir decide. I believe we have to just stay out of that debate, but campaign our government to make sure it's doing what it can to ensure the rights of the Kashmiri people. Am I correct there, Claire? Or do you want to come in and say something?
Mizan, I think I would like to add something. You did say that you are waiting for the UK government to validate the application. Could you kindly make sure that you remind them that India cannot take a prisoner from Kashmir under UN Resolution 47, because United Kingdom is a party to that resolution as well. So you have to bring Yassin Malik within a legal framework, so that things are much smoother. And you need to tighten up these things. If you leave it loose, open-ended, that it's a common application, then we may have problems. But you will have to spell out that we believe that under the United Nations template or under UN resolution such and such, India cannot take Yassin Malik as prisoner. It is very important. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Muzaffar, can I add just a last one small message?
Yeah, sure. Go on.
Thank you. My special salam to Mushaal Mullick. Assalamu alaikum, Baji. Salman Khan from South Africa.
Wa alaikum salam.
Baji, my message to you as a solidarity that when the
I cannot see you. Where are you?
I am on the top without a picture because my camera is buffering. What I want to give you the message from South Africa is that we are with you, and whole of the South Africa is with you. Just want to give you a very important message here. When the Nelson Mandela was in a jail for 27 years, it was nobody, because whole of the ANC was banded. It was the Women League of ANC was running the campaign, and they were solid. They said in Africa, when you hit the woman, you hit the rock. And all 27 years, the whole of the liberation movement was kept alive by Winnie Mandela, the wife of Nelson Mandela. So you should be strong enough and should give us inspiration to continue, and we are here. The second thing is your brother from South Africa has brought a war crime case in South Africa against the Modi, and a warrant of arrest was issued in 2017, and that case is still alive. So do not feel alone. We are all together, and inshallah ta'ala, this decade is belong to the Kashmir liberation, inshallah ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much for your kind words of encouragement. But I think I firmly believe that the spirit or the struggle of Yasin was not just for liberating the Kashmiris, but it was also for peace and also for unity. And I see Kashmiri people get scattered. I'm sorry to say this. We should learn to appreciate one another, even if we belong to another school of thought. We need to learn how to tolerate one another, be it the men or the women folk. We need to join hands. And it's a case about humanity and the spirit behind Yasin's entire struggle, as Dr. Fai quite beautifully explained. And these people are, they're institutions. The ones who are right now, Mr. Zafar Khan, Mr. Azmat Khan, they're experts on Kashmir, regardless if they're from JKLF or they're friends with Yasin, or Javed Rathore Sahab, or even what you're doing right now in South Africa. I mean, it's commendable. So I think if we join hands, brains together, and we stop thinking that who's going to lead us, let's all become equal, and let's join hands and let's become workers. That's kind of mindset, because I've seen a lot of, sorry to say, that everybody wants to become a leader. So I think we should eliminate that word and become workers, and, just jointly work together as human beings and try to get the Kashmiris some relief. And the way forward is to, to have patience, not to call anybody with bad names, or that, if somebody's not agreeing with your idea. So if somebody minds what I said, but I'm saying it with all honesty, and even within Pakistan or abroad or in Azad Kashmir, Kashmiris that we have, we need to come on some joint platform together. And we definitely need a legal international law expert for that. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert on that. I'm a wife of the top leader, but yes, I'm an educated woman, and I believe that, we have to rise up for the rights of our people. And for that, we need to research, study, and jointly, whenever I write even a letter or a petition or whatever I send abroad, I try to send it to experts like Mr. Fai, Mr. Zafar, Mr. Gilani, Mr. Azmat. I try to learn from all these people, because they are Mr. Javed Rathore. All these people are institutions. So I'm really glad that I'm sitting with them, sharing the dice. I'm no expert, but yeah, I'm just trying to raise a voice or trying to make a difference for my husband and for all the women and children in Kashmir. Thank you so much.
Brother Mizu, can I say just a word?
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
I think it's Brother Salman, mashallah, he's always concerned about the unity, and what Mushaal was saying. Let me tell you one thing, because the reason I am going to say it, because I was the part of it. As we know that Yasin Mullick is the symbol of independence, and Sayyid Ali Gilani Sahab, he's the symbol of accession to Pakistan. See, this sense of unity, it is very important over here. We met with the advisor to the President of the United States, in the National Security Advisor. Wallahi, Yasin Mullick told, it was a lady by the way, Yasin Mullick told her, you people are making mistake. If you really would like to have some solution of the Kashmir problem, you cannot afford to ignore Sayyid Ali Gilani. Can you believe it? Muhammad Yasin Mullick, who belongs to independent Kashmir, Sayyid Ali Gilani accession to Pakistan. This is the sense of unity we need to have. So I am really glad to see that particularly Professor Zafar Khan and Dr. Gilani. So they have been always telling me that we have to really go beyond the borders. So we have to take the lesson from Yasin Mullick, pleading the case of Sayyid Ali Gilani and pleading the case of Salahuddin in front of Dr. Manmohan Singh. So these are the leaders. We cannot really afford to ignore their contribution. May Allah bless them, and may Allah keep him safe, inshallah.
Amen. Amen.
Jazakallah khair for your contribution. In fact, if I could just say something, something Michelle said about leaders, and we need to get rid of this word, leaders. I just want to quickly say that in the United States, when the Black Lives Matter movement was very, very pertinent and rising, civil rights activist Angela Davis was asked a question about the leadership of the Black Lives Matter organization, because it doesn't work on a leader structure. It's a more decentralized form. And then instead of saying that we have no leaders, what she said is the whole movement is full of leaders. In fact, everyone within the Black Lives Matter movement is a leader. No one's a follower, everyone's a leader. And I think that's what Michelle also was trying to say, that yes, we need to get rid of that, but we also need to see ourselves as part of the movement as well, for the liberation of the Kashmiri people. So thank you so much, Michelle. Claire, I think, so Claire, do you want to come back on a few things? If you also don't mind, if you can just touch upon that discussion that we just had about the political unity and leadership and what your thoughts are, because we've had these discussions a lot as well. And I think we can, if anyone has anything else to say, we can have a few more comments afterwards, after Claire, and then we're just going to have to end this off. So Claire, if you don't mind going first, thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that was said there. And yeah, I mean, Michelle, I think used the word workers. We could equally use the word leaders, and that's what it's about. I just wanted to say, you know, our on-ground grassroots Yassine Malik signature campaign, we do have a lot of our own members worldwide and in different countries that are working hard. So I know in Azad, we do youth, the young on ground already trying to gain the momentum. So I don't want to be too, I think I was maybe a little bit too pessimistic on it earlier. But so I think it does have the potential to grow. And obviously, I think there's a good key element to come in the youth. You know, we all know that the youth can be active. You know, it's disappointing here that our universities are shut. I think also Cotley are still online. And so when you've not got the students gathering together in the same way, they're not able to have, you know, their meetings and their organization. So I think we do have the COVID situation stopping on us. So I think that does answer some questions. So, you know, that, I guess, for the idea with the signature campaign is we could all be leaders with that. Any one of us here now can go and pick up a pen, pick up a piece of paper and print off the petition or the words that are there and get on ground and get, you know, names off your workmates and everything. And there's our email address to send it back to, which is lkdcampaign@gmail.com. No, the unity, we said before, we can go above that if we focus on humanity, isn't it? About humanity, regardless of what our opinions, our political groups are, we're all humans above that. A bit like during the war, when, you know, Labour, Conservative, Liberal, all of those things went out the window and everybody came together in a spirit to fight together. And that's what it needs to be about. If we want to win this and find the freedom for the political prisoners and for Kashmir's self-determination, then everybody, the solution is in the Kashmiris and in everybody coming together to reach out to people in the international community to make it happen.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sorry, I think we have Javed that wants to come in next. If anyone wants to come in after Javed, can you please raise your hand on the application, please? If no one wants to come in, then I will give it back to Michelle for a final few words, and then we can end it off there. Thank you so much.
So thank you, first of all. It's not Javed, it's Javed. And secondly, I'm not a doctor. Thank you for your...
Sorry, that's the bio. That's what the bio was said. Javed, sorry.
You know, I'll give one example. If we wanted to make a pizza, we need tomato, we need cheese, we need crust, and we need oven. Simply, for the freedom movement, there is a recipe. And recipe is, first of all, unity. And second is our notion. If we don't have a proper notion and proper recipe, unity, we can't move forward. We have a lot of people, those love with Kashmiris and Kashmir and working for Kashmir from Africa, Dr. Sohail, and all of us, you know, Dr. Ghulam Nabi Fai, Gilani Saab, Olga, I see the Karen Rodman, a lot of people wanted to work. But the problem is there is no unity, there is no cohesion, and there is no roadmap. And I think most important is like a Black Lives Matters. We have to take the plight and miseries of people on the streets of all capital of the world. And we have to make it a global movement. And that we can make only if we build up a coalitions, not only coalitions of Kashmiri organization, but all human rights organization and our other peoples from different faith. We have to reach out for them. And there is a problem that leadership, everyone want to be a leader and everyone want to keep him focused on himself. Instead of that, I think it's very important and it's imperative for us to be united. And at this time, I'll request Madam Bidwell that you can take a role, since you are not a Kashmiri and probably we can all, you know, accept you, you can coordinate. Okay, so invite all Kashmiri organization in a one Zoom conference. We should have some kind of strategy, and we should make this movement as a global movement. Unless we will not be able to make this movement as a global movement, as a movement for referendum, for a plebiscite, for right to self-determination, because Kashmir issue is unfortunately most misconceived issue in international community. They think it's a bilateral between India and Pakistan. When they think this issue, see this issue with that kind of view, then this issue lose the urgency. And then they see with the lenses of their benefit and their political interest and their economic interest. So we have to make it a global issue, human rights issue, fundamental issue. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. So next up we have Olga, and then Salman Khan after that. And then I think if there's no one after that, then we will end it off with Michelle. So Olga, do you want to go next? Thank you.
Yes. I'm sorry. Michelle, I wanted to say thank you for telling your story today. It was a very, very powerful story. And I just, coming from a community that is filled with civil rights issues, and I understand the importance of the good story and George Floyd, and I'm also Russian, and the story of Yulia Navalny, and Navalny is right with me as I'm listening to you. I see that a lot of politics are very bifurcated. There are a lot of issues at everyone's attention, but stories take over. And I think one of the most powerful ways that Kashmiri people can shape the message is around stories like yours. I just wanted to thank you for letting me to be part of this meeting, and I've learned a lot.
Thank you so much. I think after Salman, then we will allow Michelle to come back on that and give us a final few words. Salman, do you want to go next? Thank you.
Yes, yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me again. I just wanted to say that I look at it as analytically, and I look at the lesson learned by South African freedom liberation movement, how they achieve it so fast. And we have, if you comparatively look at the two case studies, Kashmir is a more legitimate case and is a bigger case, and it is, we got 3.5 million Kashmiris diaspora living overseas. For 73 years, we have not created any impact internationally. Now, look at the South Africa. There was only 2,000 and 2,500 people who escaped from South Africa, went to Europe, galvanized the people, masses behind, and have a free national Mandela campaign where the Clare was a part of the movement. They managed to create an impact and they get their liberation. Now, so what is the problem? The problem is our liberation movement has always been top-down strategy. It means it's been always in a corridor of a United Nations diplomatic community. Pakistan is a big brother, very good brother. Thank you very much. But it has not brought any meaningful impact that our sisters and Mersaris still get killed and raped. So things need to change. And what need to change? We need to start bottom-up strategy, people-to-people contact, sister to sister contact, brother to brother contact. That's what we're talking today, and that's what need to happen. When the people will rise from the bottom, they will force their government to listen to their parliamentarian, and parliamentarian will go to the prime minister, and things will change. We need to transit. For the last 73 years, we've been in a struggle mode, and we're still in a struggle because we don't have any unified one voice, or we do not have a one leader, we do not have a one slogan. We in South Africa, we had over 1,000 political parties. They had a 1,000 different demands. But the Nelson Mandela say, if we go to international community, ask for the solidarity, people will not listen to us. So what he said, let's make a one slogan. And that slogan was, ask for the right to vote. And I said, if we can all unite it, we can have all the political party, all the NGO, but let's unite on the one thing only, which everybody will support. Give us a right of self-determination as enshrined into the United Nations Resolution 47, and the rest will be taken care by the Kashmiri when they are free. So we need to transit from the struggle movement into the true global movement, and we cannot achieve it until unless we all put our differences behind, unite behind the one leader. My Ghulam Nabi Sahib is there. We got the Mirza Sahib there. We got many people. Let's have a one flag, one slogan, one united front, and one slogan: Kashmir freedom in our lifetime, inshallah ta'ala. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Salman. Very, very important words. So I think we would just like to end off with Mushaal. Mushaal, if you don't mind saying a few words just to end off the event. And if you want to come back on some of the things you've heard, that would be great as well. So Mushaal
wanted to say something. If you could allow,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to actually say that whatever has been thrown at the people of Jammu and Kashmir, particularly over the past 33 years, 32 years, and since 2019, if you see, the ratio of military deployment went from about 600,000, 700,000 to 900,000 in the Indian occupied Kashmir. And the expectation was that we would be on our knees. We are not on our knees. We are standing up. There are many issues and many challenges and many problems within the movement, but those problems are less of the making of the Kashmiri people than they are of the regional players. And particularly the fact that the issue is seen as a conflict between India and Pakistan does not help the Kashmiris. And I think it is there that the Kashmiri people have to actually coalesce, and indeed our leaders like Dr. Fai and Dr. Gilani and many others are actually very aware of that, and we are all the time thinking in those terms. And I'm hopeful, despite the fact that one has had such a long journey in this struggle, but I am hopeful that we will get there. And we have leaders like Yasin Malik who are very clear about, have a very clear vision about where we are going, heading in the future. So I'm actually not in any way I suppose hampered or disheartened, if I can use that word. I'm there's a lot to do, but I think as long as we interact with each other at whatever level, and we have to make the struggle people centric. We have to get it away from this bilateralism of India and Pakistan. And every time you take an argument to the British government, for example, they always hide behind the bilateralism of India and Pakistan over Kashmir, which is absolutely nonsense, which is absolutely erroneous in history and also in reality. And that is what we have to actually take home to these powerful governments and decision makers in the world. And I think this is where parliamentarians in British Parliament, people in American Congress and Senate and European Parliament can actually do us a favor by making it a people-centric and Kashmir-centric rather than Indo-Pakistan-centric issue. Of course, India and Pakistan are very important. They are physically in Kashmir, they in varying way. That is not to be that equation is not to be actually ignored. We ignore it at our peril. But I think it is the issue, the key to unlock this seemingly locked door about resolving the Kashmir issue is the people of Kashmir. And we as Kashmiris, and our leadership is very clear on that. There's no confusion over that. Our leadership from Yasin Malik and others are clear about that, where we are heading. Thank you.
You're on mute, Mizan.
Thank you so much for that, Zafar. For that, does anyone else wants to say a few more words before I hand it over to Michelle and maybe Claire to end it off? Can't see anyone else. Okay, so Michelle, again, thank you so much for joining
Mr.
us.
Mr. Azmat wants to say something.
Azmat wants to say something. Okay, Azmat Khan, do you want to come on? You're on mute.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I thought you said this was going to be an interactive session. Have we not got any questions?
No, it's not. It's a session between us. No, unfortunately, there aren't any questions on the comments or chat box.
Right. Okay. Can I just take 10 seconds? Claire?
Yeah, I was just wondering if
am I okay to?
I've gone quiet.
Yeah, sure. Azmat, you can go next.
Yeah. Listen, I just want to reiterate a couple of points that I made earlier. It's great thing to meet. I think everybody's got ideas. Everybody here has actually made a good contribution. Everybody is prepared to start this fight and get it to the end. But my point was that unless the Kashmiris have a state on their back, we're not going to get anywhere. That's my experience for the last 40 years. The only way we're going to make a breakthrough internationally to get a international, a government internationally to actually start a rethinking of peace process is by asking the Pakistanis to take a new bold initiative. If the Kashmiris can't be bothered to ask our friends in Islamabad, we're not going to get anywhere. We're going to be here for another 40 years or maybe beyond my lifetime. We need to get the Pakistani friends. This is the time for them to get the Chinese to make the background channel diplomacy that they've been doing recently with their friends, with their enemies. Made a very serious mistake recently in Islamabad, where Khan in back channels made an agreement with India on ceasefire. The whole world will now tell you that we are happy with what Pakistanis are doing, Indians are doing, because they've called a ceasefire. Therefore, there is an end of the Kashmir problem, end of our problems. That's how they're going to see it, because there is no new international initiative. One single state we need to be able to open a case on everything that Nazir Gilani has pointed out is all in the UN framework, but we haven't got a country to go to the ICJ and ask for an opinion. We need to get the UN institutions to they can themselves ask for a international court opinion on the legality of what the Indian and Pakistanis are doing currently in terms of imprisonment, in terms of peace agreements, in terms of keeping their forces there. If we can't get a government, and hopefully what you're all saying is that we need to have this campaign to persuade at least one government, maybe the UK state, to take up our case, but they won't. We know that. They are international players. Kashmir isn't on their international agenda. Unless another country comes up and puts Kashmir on the international agenda, what our friends in Islamabad are doing is taking it off the international agenda, making it into a bilateral issue. And that's where the trap is. The Indians will win all the time. That's how they won last time. You remember Musharraf came very close to a agreement with Bajpai back in 2002 or 3 it was. But we slipped and we've lost so many lives since then. It's been nearly 20 years. We're still there because we don't have a new initiative. So no matter how much effort you put in, Dr. Fay has put all his lifetime in. I was a little child when I first heard about his efforts in America. Dr. Nazir Gilani, he has spent all his life fighting for Kashmir. Unfortunately, lots of our people that have been on the international arena have gone. They're dead, and we don't have that much of a lifetime. I beg you, there are only two ways that you're going to get this Kashmir problem resolved. Either you get the Indian people to stand up in Delhi against their own government to say enough is enough. Can we do that? Can we have that kind of campaign? And the alternative is to get the Pakistanis to stand up against their own regime and say, right, we've had enough, let Kashmiris go. And that's how you're going to get it done. Or get another country in the world to put some effort into making it and internationalizing it. That should be our focus, I think. That's how we're going to get through it. Otherwise, we'll be here again next year and a year after, or maybe 20, 30 years later, maybe not us, maybe another generation. We are losing generation after generation because of the vested interests of all the parties in Kashmir. That's China, Pakistan, and India. We've got to get them to move. And I think the best time we've got is for Pakistanis to move because they have very good relationship with China. And China has a very good clout internationally, not in the G5, not in the Security Council, but elsewhere. And they should use that friendship. Chinese have a problem with India, and that needs to be exploited in a positive way. And if that can't be done by the Pakistanis who have a huge stake in Kashmir, if they can't be moving in that direction, I don't know what else will. A nuclear war maybe will move the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Azmat Khan. Does anyone else want to have a final few words before we start wrapping up? Okay, I can't see anyone. No one saying anything? Okay, I think I will ask again if Michelle wants to come back on some of these things. And I think after Michelle, we'll have Claire. If we could just end off with a final few words on Let Kashmir Decide and the future plans. So Michelle, thank you so much.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Azmat that either, we do something within India, bring awareness amongst their public, how important it is to resolve the Kashmir issue, or we nominate some Kashmiris internationally on some forum, like, at least 5 top experts, and we have a lot of them here right now in this panel discussion. And we nominate them according to their expertise, and they decide how to take it forward legally or diplomatically. And then we have the permanent 5 countries, how to advocate within them, taking Kashmiris, the influential ones or the ones who have knowledge about it and who are good at networking on the international strategizing or campaigning for it internationally through various legal forms or diplomatic channels. Or through the UN mechanism. That is a science in itself, and it's not an easy joke just to, get a speech printed out by some Kashmiri and then just keep on, changing a few words or the statistics of the killings and just repeating that every year or at every conference. And then secondly, what Mr. Azmat said, like within Pakistan, our brothers or our sisters in Islamabad, I've heard that a lot of times, even when I was in Srinagar, because when I got married to Yasin, I was, this is what people told me there. I didn't realize before getting married to Yasin that, my position would be such that I will not just be wife of a leader, but I will be considered the first Pakistani public figure living in Indian occupied Kashmir. And the kind of heavy, responsibility, which was the invisible responsibility that was on my shoulders when I went there. People would engage with me, like coming in hundreds, just that, Pakistan should do this, Pakistan should do that. And, the Kashmiris love Pakistanis and, we're angry with Pakistan, their policies and blah, blah, blah. And I was not a student of politics. And I was an artist. But then my husband, started telling me that, now that you're married to me, because I'm a public figure and I'm their leader, so they're definitely, they have high expectations from me. And then now you're a Pakistani also, not just wife of a Kashmiri leader. So, I would get hundreds of files, not thousands, hundreds of files, like, on one trip, I would get around 50 files of Kashmiri families wanting to get married, their sons or daughters with Pakistanis there after Yasin's marriage. And I was like, I don't do the match fixing or anything, but that was a love I got from the people there. And then when I came back, the treatment that was I got from the Indian side sometimes used to be very humiliating. And it was nothing new for Kashmiris to get body searched or being treated in a bad manner. But for me, a person who has never gone through interrogation and that kind of feeling of being considered lesser than others, so that made me realize what Kashmiri people, the humiliation that they were going through. And when I would go to prison to meet my husband in central jail, the body searches that I went through. For Yasin, it was something very normal. He would laugh at me that, this is okay, it happens with everybody. And then it's happening with you, and you're the first Pakistani stepping into central jail to meet her Kashmiri leader husband. So I would get really angry. So when I came back to Pakistan, especially when they body searched my daughter, I've shared that episodes with Javed Rathore Saab also, when you were visiting Pakistan. That was the turning point for me. And I decided that now when I go back to Pakistan, I come from a privileged family that is politically well connected. I keep meeting everybody. Let me start advocating for their problems in a neutral manner, the women, the Kashmiri children, because now I'm also a mother, and I can feel the pain of Kashmiri women, the mothers, the wives, and literally I'm leading a life of a half widow in a way, because in a marriage of 12 years, we've hardly spent 60 or 70 days together. The rest, he's been in prison, sometimes visa issues, sometimes he would be going into hiding. So then Yasin told me that if you want to do something for Kashmiris, if you feel that you can contribute, then why don't you start a grassroots mobilization drive within Pakistan or internationally? Start advocating for the Kashmiri people. Keep this issue alive. It's dying in Pakistan. And I shared this with Ghulam Nabi Faiz Sahab when you visited Pakistan and you visited our home. I've shared it with Javed Rathore Sahab. You were very encouraging. Even Dr. Nazir Gilani. I mean, we've shared talk shows together. And I used to tell them that, sometimes it's Aman Ki Asha, sometimes bilateralism, cricket diplomacy, trade diplomacy, cross-cultural diplomacy. What crap is this, I mean, we don't have a proper full-fledged strategy of getting Kashmiris their right to freedom as enshrined in the UN. So I would share these problems with Yasin, and he said, you got to do it. If you desire, do it in a neutral manner. Go to the youth. Go and tell them, educate the youth, or go internationally, show the human face of Kashmir. And one other thing that he shared with me was, because now he's in prison, he said that there is no national leadership in Pakistan or any political party here that is truly committed to the Kashmiri people. And there are so many Kashmiris living in Pakistan and Azad Kashmir or abroad. I wish they had utilized those political forums or political parties within Pakistan. You have the topmost business community of Kashmiris living in Pakistan or living, in Azad Kashmir, especially in Pakistan. You have a lot of stay subject holders over here from Jammu and other areas. And when there's a rally or a protest, you have hardly any few people coming out. And even the Kashmiris living in Pakistan, they never bring their wives or their children there. So he's like, you got to mobilize the public. So I'm trying to do that, but I think Kashmiri people should have planned it in such a manner that either you nominate a few people who have that credibility internationally, who've given their lives away. We have such people in the panel right now. Make some kind of working body to guide Kashmiris all over the world, particularly focusing on the P5 countries, the UN mechanism, and Pakistan and India. So I think we failed to do that, and we need to do that now. I mean, you can't leave everything on Yasin or Mr. Gilani, that, okay, we got the leaders there, and that's it, they'll come out, they've given us the guy, and no, they're locked up right now. To get them released or to get this issue resolved, we need to promote those experts on Kashmir internationally to take charge.
and also within Pakistan, lack of lobbying, I would say, in the Pakistani political parties. We haven't done that. We haven't done it the way we should have. I mean, we can't even do one long march on Kashmir in Pakistan, but only certain religious-minded political parties would come out, but not the public. So the public has that sentiment for Kashmiris. Unfortunately, it was not mobilized. We can't even get a UN observer on Kashmir. So I think we need to make a strategy once and for all, the Kashmiri people around the globe and within Pakistan. Stop criticizing, stop leg pulling each other, and stop waiting for a miracle that Pakistan made this blunder or that. What about the Kashmiris living within Pakistan? What are they doing? So we need to mobilize people. We need, and this is not just an issue of Kashmiris, it's the issue of the entire South Asia. It's the CPEC is going through it. It's the Silk Route. Chinese have a direct economic security cost attached with a peaceful settlement of Kashmir issue. Approach these countries, approach America, and just recently an interfaith delegation from America was over in Pakistan, and they're very close with the Joe Biden regime, and they were visiting the president of Pakistan. And I was amazed. They contacted me. I didn't even know them, and they wished to meet me. So they came over, and I spoke to them. I shared Yasin's opinion and of Kashmiris. I'm no expert on Kashmir, but whatever chance I got, I shared with them. They were here 2 days ago, and it was a very good discussion. Right now, even America would want to take interest on the human rights side. So let's decide, let's nominate a few people, regardless of if they're from JKLF or they're from Jamaat Gilani's, Said Ali Gilani's, or whatever. We need legal experts, we need political experts, we need to make a body. We do that, make a strategy, and then, as Javed Rathore Saab said, that let's, once and for all settle it, make a game plan or something of the sort, that how we nominate Kashmir ambassadors and go forward and try to learn from the experts rather than saying that we're leaders, because that is a mindset I've seen in Azad Kashmir also, that every second person is a leader. That's why I've kind of gotten allergic to the word leader. We're not workers, we're not going on the grassroots, we're not trying to mobilize the youth, we're not trying to keep the issue alive. If we're doing million marches abroad, we have to do them. We have to keep on working hard together. But unless and until we don't have a focal point, get together, or demanding our freedom and knowing the right people to contact, so we'll all be scattered. We'll become leaderless movement. So we need to decide, those people right now. And I think Claire can do a great job in that, in working with all the top Kashmiri experts, the way you've invited them today. And they can guide us, and we can work on a lot of things together. I think right now in Pakistan, it's a vacuum. It's like we don't have any focal point to start campaigning for the Kashmir issue over here. Regardless, it's only the religious parties maybe who get active sometimes. So I think, or we leave it on the current political regime. Oh, it's the PTI's duty. Oh, it's the PMLM's duty. No, the Kashmiris haven't worked that hard. They should. If Yasin can do it, or the political leadership under a high concentration of occupation, and keep the political struggle alive in impossible circumstances, why can't we people internationally or in Pakistan, why cannot we gather? I mean, it's a shame that only 1,000 signatures we got for Yasin, a man who has been walking on foot to various villages getting signatures for a peaceful settlement in a concentration camp. And we are abroad, we are freely, we're breathing and we are flying away, and we could not even get 1 million signatures for the Kashmir. So I think there is some lapses that we need to work on. I feel ashamed myself right now.
Yeah, can I pick you up from that point?
Yes.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I mean, from the grassroots, and that's what we have here. I mean, we have, I sit here, we've said this before, I sit here as one face, but I'm not. There are thousands behind me. We are a team, and we have high aims, and we've come a long way in a short time. And we are committed to, I mean, this is our grassroots effort, and we want everybody on this panel and everybody that's listening to get on ground and gather signatures and do that. We might have started slow, but that doesn't mean there's no reason we can build that momentum. It's just a signature on a piece of paper. We're just asking one more person for a signature. But every time we ask someone and we ask them to ask someone, it goes on and on and on. And you know, the end result is we want to present millions, thousands of people's names to the UK government, to world leaders, to the United Nations, to the Indian government. There is no reason why we cannot have millions of names on that piece of paper. And we have those aims and we have people on the ground. So if everybody here can go away and start gathering signatures and ask everybody they get a signature from, will you gather some signatures? We've got a form which people can contact us through the group or through my page or through the Let Kashmir Decide page. They can be returned to the email pages. The online petition itself can be printed off and names can be gathered, and we've got the email address to return it to. So that for us, it's, you know, it's something simple, but it could end up magnifying and rolling and becoming so effective. So we as a team, I don't want to, you know, in my angst about the support from other people where we only got 1,000 signatures, I am aware that we've got, you know, we're confident of our aims and our goals, and really grateful that everybody is here, you know, to support that and guide that and lift that, and we can all do that along with one another. So I think that's probably all I have to say, but once again, to just offer my grateful thanks to everybody for their expertise. And if we can all get behind it's, you know, it's predominantly using Yasin Malik as the face, because he's the one that's most at imminent danger, but it is also asking for the release of all political prisoners. So it's one for all and all for one. And I believe that using the simple international signature campaign, we can go on to do that. So we've even got Olga here, you know, we've got lots of people in the USA. If everybody started going off, getting signatures, and everybody they met asked them to collect signatures, before we know it, we could have thousands and millions. And that's our aim, and we're aiming high. And, you know, we have that belief. We have that belief. And like Azmat Khan said earlier, you know, I'm not disheartened. He says, struggle until victory. And that's what we're here for. And as Javad said earlier, we really could sit here for days and weeks and months talking about all these problems and issues. So signature campaign, international signature campaign, and pushing our UK government to save Yasin Malik's life, get the justice and for political prisoners. That's our aim going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Claire. And I think that is a very good way to end this lively and informative and important event. I, on behalf of Let Kashmir Decide, would like to thank Claire for organizing, for getting this event together, for all the speakers for coming to speak. And personally, I would also like to thank Michelle for coming to speak as well, especially telling us your story at the end there. That was very, very powerful, and I really connected with it. So thank you so much for coming. We will be pushing the petition, and in regards to the UK petition, like if we get any pushback from the UK government, I'll work with Claire, and I'm sure Claire can work with everyone else to find out how to get above that, so that we can have a UK petition to save Yasin Malik as well. So thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a good evening for the rest of the day. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Salam.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
All the best. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Take care.
Thank you so much.